Hi, my name is Megan. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and today I am here to answer the 5 questions, 1 take tag. So this is a tag that I heard about in a Facebook group that I'm part of for sewing YouTubers, and this group was created by Lindsey from Inside the Hem. A few other YouTubers will be following the tag, so make sure you check out the hashtag down below to see if you can find more videos. If you're a YouTuber and you're interested in making this video, or you've always wanted to try, and you've been looking for a sign, this is your sign. Give the questions a go, post your video, and come back and let me know so I can come check yours out. So I have my questions on my phone here, and I will be referring to them so that I can answer them. I am going to do kind of like a quick take. We're not supposed to edit the video, so it's just a natural response. And I want it to be fresh. I had thought slightly, I gave a little bit of thought to my answers, but not a lot. So it's going to be a pretty authentic video. And my apologies if it gets a little bit rambly. So the first question is number 1. What has your sewing journey looked like? When did you start sewing? Who taught you? Did you take any breaks, etc.? So I learned how to sew when I was a child. I took sewing lessons at a store in Kindersley, Saskatchewan called Veronica's Sewing Supplies. Veronica was the mother of a boy I went to school with, actually, and 2 older sons. We knew them quite well in the small town I grew up in. And actually the store just closed this July. Veronica passed away after a battle with cancer, so that was quite sad. But anyway, back in the 90s, I took sewing lessons with the Kids Can Sew. I believe it was run by Simplicity, had produced a series of sewing lessons for children. And Veronica's ran sewing classes, and so every Thursday my best friend and I would pile into their car, and our moms would drive us a half an hour into Kindersley. We would take sewing lessons. We'd go for dinner quite often at the cafeteria in the Zellers, and usually on Thursday nights there was a coupon, so we could choose between either 2-for-1 fish and chips or 2-for-1 turkey club sandwiches, and I hated both but always went for the club sandwich. But to this day, I would really like to find a club sandwich that was like the one at the Zellers Cafe, because I thought it was pretty tasty. Now, when I reflect on it at the time, I really just wanted to have like a hamburger, but that's not what we had the coupon for, so that's not what we ate. Anyway, so I took a few years of sewing lessons at Veronica's, and I stopped when I decided I wanted to look at other activities. I think I was starting to get to the age where I could do school sports and school drama instead of sewing, and I had to pick. I believe I was 8 when I started, and I took 2 or 3 years of classes, so I was either 10 or 11 when we stopped. The last project that I made, I didn't finish, and I was working on a plaid jumper, like a dress, pinafore dress with kind of a kilt skirt, and my sewing teacher Audrey was insistent that that plaid match, and it was lined and like a really ambitious project for a little kid, and it was just, I didn't finish it. And that project sat in a bag in the basement in my parents' house until probably I was in my mid-20s, and then I think my mom may finally have gotten rid of it. But so then I took a break, and I did a little bit of sewing in high school for home ec, which I liked, but didn't so much. I made a Halloween costume when I was in grade 12. I made a toga, wore it to toga parties in university, so that was fun. But then I didn't touch a sewing machine again until I was in my early 30s. I had just had a baby. Decided I wanted to learn to sew again. And I had read a book called Overdressed, which talked about the history and evolution of fast fashion and the move away from high-end tailored clothing like you would buy in a department store in the 1940s and 50s to the fast fashion that's available today. And I read this book, and I definitely recommend reading it. And it made me really question why I couldn't find clothes in my size at sort of that mid-market range. Like if I go to the Bay and I wanted to buy a nice wool coat, I didn't really have a ton of options, and the options that I did have didn't seem particularly well made without being extravagantly expensive. So if I wanted to buy a coat and then have it tailored, they weren't well, like what's available in ready to wear didn't seem like it was well made enough to withstand tailoring. And like, I want to wear this coat for 10 or 20 years, so I can make some modifications as styles change and shift, like shorten it or drop the hem back down. I started to think about what the ideal would be. And I was reading this and I said to my coworkers at the time, I guess the only answer is to learn how to make my own clothes. And here we are, and it's about 5 years later, 6 years later, and I make my own clothes. And it was kind of a challenge accepted moment for me. When I decide that I'm going to do something, I decide I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of finding enough energy and time to do it. So I recommend that book. I thought it was great. I should probably give it another read. I took it out from the library here in Calgary, so you could put it on hold again. I still do buy ready-to-wear clothing. I love clothes, but definitely I spend more time thinking about how the clothes that I want to wear are made. There's a lot of skill that goes into making clothing. Even like the $10 t-shirt or $7 t-shirt you're buying at H&M. Work goes into that, and I think learning to sew has made me appreciate that. That the jeans that I can buy on clearance at Old Navy that cost $11, there's no way in the world those jeans should cost $11. Like material cost alone, but the labor that goes into producing them has value. So it's my food for thought without getting too high on my soapbox, because I still buy $11 jeans when I need to. But yeah, that's why I started sewing again, and that's how I got here. And I took one class at Rick Rack Textiles in Calgary a couple years ago to learn how to insert zippers in a few different ways. And other than that, I'm pretty much self-taught. So my next question is to describe your sewing space. Where it is it shared or private? Is it messy or clean? So I am in my sewing space. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Calgary, and this is our master bedroom. This is a Murphy bed. And so when I want to sew, I pull my sewing desk out. I have a folding sewing cabinet on wheels. My sewing machine sits in it and all my supplies. I fold the desk out. I plug it in by the window here. My serger lives in the pantry in a storage bag, and so it comes out. My fabric is all folded in shelves that are in a unit behind me or at the top of my closet. And then my other materials, my patterns are all stored in the closet, and then I've tucked things here and there as I amass more fabric and notions. They're kind of taking over various storage places. So once I've had a chance to do a really solid tidy, which my husband keeps asking me when I'm going to do that really solid tidy, I will do a tour of my sewing space in my bedroom. So look for it in the next couple of weeks. And if you're interested in seeing it, please let me know. If you're not interested in seeing sort of a tour of my sewing space, also let me know. I am interested in what you have to say. So yeah, so I sew in my bedroom. So that means that when it's time to go to sleep, I have to pack everything up and put it all away. And we fold the bed down. I put the bed up every morning. It takes about 45 seconds. So this is also the space that I exercise in. This is the space that we build Lego in, and the kids wrestle in here. Sometimes if there's more than one person here during the day and I'm working from home, I'll work in here, but typically I work in the kitchen, off the kitchen table when I'm working from home. I read in here. We have a TV. We never had a TV in our bedroom before, but we do now. And so it's over there. So yeah, we wanted to make our space more livable, and our bedroom is quite large in our apartment. And the only thing that we were doing in here was sleeping. So we thought might as well use the space that we have in perhaps a more efficient or multi-purpose way, and we were so happy with this Murphy bed purchase. We saved up for a while to buy it, and it was totally worth it. We've had it for almost a year, and I would not go back. I think it's great. Number 3, what's it like to be a sewing YouTuber? Does it meet my expectations? Is it how I thought it would be? What the reaction I get from others, etc. So I had thought about starting a YouTube channel for probably 2 years. I even filmed a video when I was on maternity leave, and my son is 3 now. And I just could never work up the courage to actually post it. And then one day I decided that it was January, February of this year. I decided that I had had enough about thinking about it, and I was just going to do it. So Being at home, working from home during the pandemic has been isolating in many ways. I don't have the opportunity to get out and talk to people as much as I would like to. I think lots of us are in that situation. But also, I don't have a lot of real life sewing friends. So I would really like to get more involved in building an in-person community. But in the absence of being able to do that, I feel like I've really had the opportunity to meet people through YouTube by commenting on their videos, by having conversation within the comments. I recognize your names when you comment, and they always make me smile. And I try to reply to every single one of them. So knowing that there are other people out there who share that passion that I do wasn't maybe why I decided to start the channel. I thought it would be a good motivator to get more done. I thought I have the opportunity to share, and I think I can do this. So like I said before, if I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But yeah, the pieces just didn't fall into place for me. The other thing that happened was I work in public relations, and I knew that I was going to have to learn how to edit video sooner rather than later. And it may surprise those of you if you work in PR that I didn't already know how to do that, but I didn't. And so I decided that if I was going to learn how to do this, I might as well do it with a subject that I'm really passionate about. Oops, sorry, that's my phone. On a subject I'm really passionate about. So sewing is what I'm passionate about. So I decided I was going to learn to film and edit my own videos, learn a bit about lighting, learn about sound and editing and all that. And so I bought a tripod from Amazon, and now I have a microphone, and I haven't looked back. And while I have yet to produce a video for work for my day job, I'm confident that if I needed to, I could. So when I tell people that I have a sewing YouTube channel, they look at me like, that makes sense. Sometimes people will say to me like, that's a fun fact about you I didn't know, that you make your own clothes, or that you're passionate about knitting or sewing. Quite often when I'm out in the world wearing something that I've made, people will ask me, oh, where'd you get that? And I'll say, oh, I made it. And they react the way that usually people do, like, wow, that's amazing, or that's so cool, or where did you learn to do that? When I tell people I have this sewing YouTube channel, sometimes people laugh a little bit and say like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then they often will go look at it and come back and tell me that they found it, which I find to be a really nice feeling. I have friends who know nothing about sewing who watch. I have family members who've told me that they watch my videos all the time, even though they don't care about sewing, and that touches me deeply. I also have family members who love me a lot who don't watch my videos. And I think, the reaction is kind of mixed, because on one hand, it's like, you have a YouTube channel, like, are you a social media influencer? And I don't really consider myself to be. And then there's kind of that, like, aren't you maybe a bit old for that? And then on the other hand, it's like, oh, you sew your own clothes. Aren't you a bit young for that? Which I find to be a really interesting juxtaposition. Like, I don't think that you are too old or too young for any hobby or any passion ever. My mom retired and learned to tap dance. So I think that whatever it is that gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning, you should follow that. And yeah, I don't share too widely that I have a YouTube channel, but I also don't hide it. So I'm not concerned that people would Google me professionally and find this channel. That doesn't bother me. So I am who I am, and you gotta like all of it, or not. Is it what I thought I would be? It is a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting to have as much fun with it. Like, I'm currently sitting alone in my bedroom. It's my lunch break, and I'm talking to my cell phone, and I didn't realize how much fun it would be, how much thought I would put into it, how much I would need to learn. It certainly is. I do find myself sometimes thinking about why I started doing this, and are the things that I'm doing in line with that? So, there's a certain point when you are active online that you're approached by various companies to do promos or product reviews. And so I assess them all with the opportunity of like, is that in line with why I started doing this project or this hobby? Because making videos is a hobby in and of itself. And I also find myself asking, am I making things solely for content for my videos? So am I sewing things because I love them and I want to wear them? Or am I sewing things because I think that would make for a great video? I think it's okay to do a little bit of the latter, but most of it should be the former, because that's what I'm interested in sharing and that's what I'm interested in watching. So yeah, it is what I expected. My channel grew faster than I was expecting. There are more of you watching than I was expecting there would be. You know, I'm about 9 months, 10 months into the channel, and I have more than 1,300 subscribers, and I'm flabbergasted every time I log in and see that I have some new subscribers. It makes my day. So yeah, I think if you are the person, like I said this at the beginning, if you're the person out there thinking, I'd like to do that, just grab your phone or a camera, prop your phone up, find a nice well-lit space in your house and go for it. You might surprise yourself by how much you enjoy it. Number 5, what is one quote, saying, piece of advice you've gotten that resonates with your sewing and YouTube success? Number 4, describe your most memorable project, a big event, a total fail, the biggest success, etc. So I did think about this one because my favorite project is always, like, the last project that I've worked on is always my favorite. But my most memorable project was when I started sewing clothing to wear to work. And I started wearing my me-made garments to my office. So I work in a professional environment. It can be a little bit creative and we can be a little bit leaning towards business casual sometimes, but sometimes I will wear a suit to work and sometimes I will wear something funky, and it just sort of depends on what's on the calendar in my day. As I mentioned, I work in public relations, and part of my role is responding to requests for interview or comment, often when there's an emergency or a crisis. So I had worn one of my new and one of my first me-made projects, so one of the first dresses I made. It was the Colette Moneta dress, so it was the second version of that dress that I had made. I had no idea what kind of knit fabric to buy. I had bought this white knit, it was like a rayon spandex. It was a bit sheer, so I had lined the bodice, and that was exciting, and I had the Peter Pan collar option, and I wish I had a photo of it, but I don't. So I had worn this dress to work, and it was a bit brave because I thought I looked nice in it, and I was really proud of it, but I thought, what if I look ridiculous in this dress? So it was supposed to be an average day, and then it was not an average day, and I ended up having to go off-site to a location and stand on the street and give interviews about an emergency that had happened, and fortunately everybody was safe. But I had to do these interviews, so on-camera interviews for the news, wearing this dress that I had made myself. And I just thought, I hope this looks as good on me as I think that it does, and I hope it doesn't literally fall apart at the seams while I'm standing here talking to this reporter. And you know, that time nobody said anything about the dress that I was wearing, which was good, because the story shouldn't have been me in the dress. The story was the response to the emergency that was happening. But it was such a kick that nobody seemed to comment on the, like, did you make that yourself? And the first time that I had a journalist ask me that they comment on my dress, and I said that I had made it a different dress, they were so floored, and it was so exciting. So yeah, that was the first moment, the turning point for me, where I realized that I could make a dress or a garment and wear it out into the world, to my regular life, my regular 9-to-5 job, with confidence, and know that I looked good and that it looked good on me and it was well made and it wouldn't fall apart halfway through the day. So yeah, that was a turning point for me. And after that, I felt way more confident in wearing the things that I had made. Like, I had made a few things and only worn them at home, or only worn them on, like, the weekend when we were out with friends to sort of test the waters. But it was that point where I realized, like, nope, I can make clothes, and they're actual real clothes that I can really wear. So yeah, that's a memorable make for me. I don't have that dress anymore. I had another baby after I made that garment, and things changed. It does not fit. I don't know that I would make them in that pattern again. It was the first like real dressmaking pattern that I made. And in the years that have passed, I have found there are other patterns that are a little bit better fit for how I like to dress. I can go with a slightly more complicated dress, but it was a great beginner pattern. Like, it was a great first dress. So yeah, that's a memorable moment. And 5, what is one quote, saying, or piece of advice you've gotten that resonates with your YouTube and sewing success? So I think that, and it's not necessarily a quote, but it's something that I think about all the time. And that is to be yourself, because no one else can be. I know that social media has a bad rap for presenting really glossy, refined, edited versions of life. And I definitely do that. I only show you the best photo that I take out of the 40 photos that I take. If I make a project and it bombs and I hate it, I don't show you. Sometimes I think about it, and sometimes I think, okay, can I present this in a way where there's a learning and something of value for people watching? If I only have negative things to say about something, I think, maybe the world doesn't need my negativity. So I do contribute it to that glossy, edited social media world. But I also try to be me, because there's no point pretending to be somebody else. If you met me in real life, I wouldn't want you to be disappointed with the version of me you see on YouTube and the version of me you would meet at a coffee shop or at a sewing event. I don't think there's any point in putting on airs or pretending that everything's fine, or pretending that I know more than I do. Just like I don't think there's any value in pretending that you don't know something. So there's lots of advice out there for people who make YouTube videos about how to be more relatable and how to get more likes and more clicks, and to generate more views, because that, if you've monetized your channel, it generates more revenue. But that's truly not what I'm here for. I'm here for that connection in the community, and to challenge myself to stay committed to a hobby, and to stay committed to growing and learning more about sewing. I think that if you don't care for who I am and my personality and what I present, that's totally fine. I don't care for everybody either, and I think there's space for all of us here. So I think being yourself and being authentic is really important. And I try not to be too glossy, happy, shiny. I do try to stay positive, because I want this to be a positive space, particularly for me. I don't like coming into a space that I have given a bit of a negative tone because I'm complaining all the time or whatever. But yeah, I would say that's the thing that rings true for my YouTube practice or sewing practice, is to be myself and honest with myself. And then the other thing would be, like, it's supposed to be fun. So when it comes to sewing for me, I don't sew as a business. I don't have to sew my own clothes. I can buy clothes at, multiple price ranges, from the thrift shop to the Walmart to the Nordstrom and the Holt Renfrew. Like, I don't buy from Holt Renfrew. Oh my God, no, I don't want to. But I can walk into a store, and I am privileged enough that I can buy something if I need to buy something to wear. But sewing for me is fun. It's about spending time learning, which I find to be fun. It's about mastery, which is something that's important to me. It's about learning to get good with details, which is a growth opportunity and area for me, for sure. It gives me an opportunity to plan and think and have something to work towards, and some goals, which I find to be a really grounding thing for my life right now. As a mom with a couple little kids, nothing I do ever stays done, and sewing stays done. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that one. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and you check out some of the other vloggers who've made 5 questions, 1 take. If you're still with me, because this was a bit of a ramble, let me know if you have any questions that you want me to answer, or things you're curious about from what I've said. And check out some of my other videos. I did answer some Friday Sews tag, get to know Friday Sews, and so I'll include a card to that video if you haven't watched it. It's one of the first videos that I made, and so you can take a look and see if anything has changed. Again, I am testing out this new microphone, so if there's something about the sound level that's bugging you, please let me know, or if you think it sounds good. I appreciate the feedback, and I will see you again soon.